Good morning, everybody.
Good
How's it
morning.
going?
Good to see you, Sammy.
Nice to see you as well. Welcome, welcome. I know it's been a crazy week for you, Tim. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AI for Anyone Live, the weekly live show from the Human Stack where we make AI accessible and actionable for nonprofit and social impact organizations. I am Sami Zoss.
And I'm Tim Lockie.
You know, last week we asked an AI agent to help us give to a nonprofit. We were kind of exploring how far this agentic giving can go. And at the end, I pointed out an organization that we work with, Project Camp. They run pop-up day camps for kids after disasters. They're an emergency response organization. And at that exact moment, they had 3 or 4 sites going in Spokane for about 100 kids a day whose homes were on fire. There were fires in the area. I don't want to say that everybody was literally on fire. But what we found was like the AI couldn't find them. And it's not a bad answer, could not find, like, it wasn't like, oh, I can't find them, or it wasn't saying this is bad. It was saying, I literally cannot find who you're talking about. And you pointed out that it kept looking at a .org address they don't own. So today we're going to try and fix that. We've got a lot of updates since then. And I've definitely I'm excited. I've got their permission. They were going to hop on, but not unfortunately, but their CEO, their executive director is on Rosalie drop-off duty this morning. So he won't be able to make it, but so excited to, with their permission in 45 minutes, let's try and fix it.
Can't wait. I can't wait to see what we've got going.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get to it. Good morning, everybody. Tim, nice to see you. Super weird. Say something, Tim, because I couldn't hear that last scene, so now I'm nervous.
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh,
now?
I can hear you. Okay, good.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I could hear you. Yeah. I couldn't. So the scene that goes before this, that like between intro scene,
right,
usually has music. Hopefully everybody else heard music because I couldn't hear it. And I was like, well,
yeah,
here we are.
Yeah.
Oh, Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah,
doing good.
It's been, as you know, there's been some personal life happening on my end, and all of that is landing well. So I'm glad to hop on here because I feel like this brings me back to who I am, what I love to do. So yeah.
Well, and we love to see you as always.
Thank you.
So we are happy to have you. I'm trying to move my screens around here again and make sure.
Thank you. I'll just say this. Thank you to you and all the others that reached out with support. I just reached out to my circle. Of course, you're one of them, and it was just really helpful. I think about the Human Stack, obviously a lot, but I just felt like, I don't know, the Human Stack around me was really, really meaningful and has been over the last few weeks. So.
Good. I'm so grateful to hear that. And obviously, I know we're being a little vague, folks. There's just some things going on in our lives and Tim's life. So we're just keeping him in our thoughts, prayers, sending love his way. And I'm glad that you and your family felt the love last week. So
thanks.
And continue to. And we are so happy that despite all that's going on, you are here to join us, not because we would encourage anyone to sort of like keep pushing through work if you're, needing time or family needs you or anything like that. But I very much am with you that this tends to be sort of like a healing step away moment. It brings me back to what I love about what we do. And so in a lot of ways, this tends to be one of my like non-negotiables that I really try hard not to miss. I think I've missed barely a handful.
You have missed almost none. Yeah, it's true. And I don't know if you package work into things that give you energy and things that suck energy, right? And yeah, this and especially people that call in, interact with us, Megan, thinking of you. It just it reminds me of who I am. And I've been reflecting a lot about how identity forms and shapes the work that we actually do. So yeah. And I think I should just say, I don't feel like we do this enough, but Sami, this really has been your show. I'm a co-host, which means I'm your ride along on this show, but what you've developed is just so incredible.
So
And so I'm grateful for it.
we have a lot of fun. And we've actually, well, we don't really say, a lot of times we do kind of pull back and try and get people to see the behind the curtains or how we do our, production playbooks and things like that. And it's definitely grown in 60 episodes, by the way. It's almost as
My
old as you.
gosh, are we at
Um
60? Almost as old as me.
I literally this morning I was like, I'm gonna make a Tim is 60-year-old
That
joke.
is awesome. That is great.
And then I
Well,
was
he's
like,
succeeded.
should I today? Is today the day to do
Of,
it? And I was like, yeah, no,
of
I am.
course. I wouldn't even know who you were otherwise. Yes, that's for
But
sure.
I do think one of the things that we probably don't talk about often enough is how much we learned and continue to learn as we go, right? Like, and that's not just about what we do here, but for example, we've built an entire skill and plugin stack that helps us with these episodes, right? So like the production playbook I previewed 30 episodes ago looks so significantly different than the one I preview today. And we actively use the mechanism that we get those production playbooks and these artifacts out in other areas of our work. And so like this has really pushed us to learn as well, if that makes sense, but not just in the stuff that we're teaching, but truly in the, okay, how do we like do what's next? How do we take this, make it easier for us, make it the last thing we want, as you're hearing, we don't want this to be a burden because we have like this just fills so much of our buckets that the last thing we want is for it to be something that starts to feel like a drag.
Yeah.
That's
I feel like
crazy.
someday we just need to actually see, like, this is about AI, and this is this is one of the most production ready AI examples I've seen, because Sammy, you're just so good at adding a next step week over week. No, you really are, and so I feel like at some point we really should like do a little building in open and just show what your process is for building these out. So I think that'd be really fun. And I got to say, I'm so excited to see Tasha Van Black commenting on here. Hi, Tasha. Like, love to see you here this morning. So,
I love it.
okay, last week we did dueling AI banjos. I don't know if that worked as a thing, but and I really liked it. I
Yeah,
liked
you
the
were loving
Yeah,
it.
I was loving it. I told you it was the best. It was my favorite episode so far. That was for two reasons. One, I like the interface of being able to watch two different, like, I love the compare contrast that you can do with AI. And it's hard to do that on your own. It's a lot more fun with somebody else. But the second reason is the results were so surprising.
Yeah.
Um, and not like not unexpected, like awesome, but unexpected, like, wait, what is this? Why? And I feel like what we expected to go learn and what we actually learned were really different. And I want to just say one
Mm.
thing about that, which is we are now in an emergent era where our expectations are going to need to update in real time. And this is like the
Oh,
difference between driving with a
terrifying.
map and driving with a GPS, because the information that we have available is so much more precise in real time than it used to be, just like a in GPS, that we can now do that, which means you're going to discover as you go a lot more than you used to in life. And the faster your organizations can do that and roll forward, make those changes and be agile, the faster you're going to be learning from your own actions. And that's the world these days. I just feel like people aren't catching up to it yet. So people got to see that
Absolutely.
live, and I think that's helpful.
Well, and I think it again, we are never sorry for those at home. I'm sure my camera is being a little jumpy right now. It's because I'm actively updating some of those back end playbooks and my
Of course
computer
you are,
just
for sure.
hates which I'm running
Yeah.
on at all times. um, but I will say one of the things that I don't know how to explain it necessarily, but like I had a quote last week that I was when I was talking to the helpline center here in South Dakota. And how did I phrase it? Because it was like this perfect little like what's the word when everything starts with the same letter? anagram.
Alliteration.
Is it alliteration? Anagram is not that. That's when things are scrambled. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It was a nice little alliteration. Something along the lines of, I fundamentally believe that you have to be comfortable enough to let your people play before they're like, it was something like, be playful before you're productive, and then you will continue to progress, or something like that. And the nice part is, like, it came just like completely organic. And now even me trying to re-say it sounds so like, I don't know, big man trying to get a TED Talk style. But it does really point out exactly how we work here, that you have to be comfortable to play. And if you prioritize early on playing over production, right, it makes it so much easier to progress. I mean, that's what I was trying to get at, is if you're starting from zero, or even from your 101, 201 levels right now. I was talking with Give Merit last week. I think maybe Give Merit was one of the ones I was saying it to, out of Detroit, which is an organization the Human Stacks worked with for a really long time. They have a varying degree of resistance and excitement about this. And so we worked together to figure out, like, how do we get folks to see the playful, the innovation in this? Because that's how you come up with these awesome production playbooks and, on live artifacts. And let's just, because we don't take ourselves so seriously, let's just both share our screens and start seeing, like, what does yours say versus what does mine say? And I just think, like, yes, we teach awesome lessons here every week, but, like, the bigger lesson is how we teach it every single time, in my opinion.
Which is that we're learning while we're doing.
100%.
I also want to say, I think Mallory Erickson has done some of the best work on this, but the industry, I don't know, the corporate language, business speak for play, you never say play. Like, that's just like right out. But you say practice instead, right? And I feel like practice is the link between progress and productivity. And it goes back to a curiosity-led approach, which again comes from a lot of the work that Mallory does around behavior and practice, and her company with Practivated. So I think that you're onto something there. So I guess let's practice. What happened?
I
Can I
know.
just
I'm like,
catch people up?
there's a part of me that wants to halt this entire conversation today and be like, let's dig into why you think playful needs to be out of the language here. We're not going to do that today, because that
I
really
will have
probably
that
could take the whole
conversation
episode.
anytime. Yeah, and I want to be clear. Like, I'm not necessarily in favor of that. I am just like recognizing it. So yeah, okay.
But you know how I feel about it as well.
Sure, yeah, and I fought it for a long time, and I feel like I'm learning. Like, hey, you know what? You need to know the spaces that you're in. Maybe that's
Yes,
the lesson for me on that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so after the episode last week where we were trying to update Project Camp by running some of the running the AEO kinds of questions that we were asking, what we found out is that a lot of the issue ended up resting on them not having a .org domain, right? Which
Yeah,
I
and
think
can
is really
you had that in
fascinating.
your chat. Can you maybe find that, not necessarily share the screen, but like, can you find some of the language specifically that pointed out, because that was our like aha moment, and then we only had like 10 minutes left and we're like, dang it.
Yeah, right.
We're getting into this next week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me go look for that.
That would be great. I was in the same vein looking through, because I'd asked them, why didn't Project Camp show up when I asked about supporting children through the Spokane fires. And remember, it said it was an oversight. And we were like, no, it's not an oversight. Like, what mechanics didn't trigger that Project Camp needs to fix or address in order to show up in my search for scenarios like this? Whoa. Did you change yourself? I
didn't mean to.
That's funny. We learn together, friends.
I guess so.
I'm going to go to one of our smaller screens here, because I'm going to share my screen, because we'll get right back into it on where we were, because it gave a few other, we'd gotten a few other than scenarios that had been spelled out since then, or for that moment.
I cannot find my
Well, yeah, you
my
use yours so
message from
much.
last week. Yeah, that it is buried in there. And now, okay, the other thing is that I've now got personal and Claude stuff going on, and so like
Oh,
it is sometimes
pure
very
chaos.
hard for me to find. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, the nice part is we didn't get a chance to really like dive deep into this piece, right? So we asked like, why doesn't this is exactly what we said. It's not an oversight. What mechanics didn't trigger that they need to fix or address in order to show up in my search in scenarios like this? Because I can see many people pulling up their chat GPT and saying, how can I help kids in this, in this response? And it even
Yep.
tried to say that like Project Camp didn't have a deployed website at the moment, which was just not accurate. That they hadn't deployed to that location. So breaking down a little bit of what we have here, and I have another scorecard. I'm going to be honest, Tim, you're seeing a lot more about the scorecard on the back end stuff that we have. I don't know that I'm going to use it today.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
Oh, I
I'll
just found
probably
it.
keep it
Okay, good.
next to me. I mean, it's cool, but I don't know that it helps the conversation enough for me to distract us with it.
Yeah.
But geographic entity binding, right? Pop-up organizations lacking pre-existing geographic SEO is probably way more important than we think. That being said, let's look at some of the ones that did pop up, right? We've got, well, American Red Cross. This is the one I was thinking of the most, but it actually did pull mostly localized options. So I think that's really important is, how do we get then, if I'm Project Camp, that tells me like one of the barriers, I guess, to get over here would then be, oh, here we need to do our, move our video,
Right.
take our video off. There we go. And then come back this way. There you go. So one of the things that this tells me is if I'm Project Camp, I need to figure out how do I get local media, local organizations, etc., to consider early on posting about us, talking about us, coming, some of that stuff, because otherwise I'm not necessarily going to be at the forefront of those conversations from a geographic perspective, right? Which I think is like that is a true challenge.
Yes. Also, can I just want to plug this point one more time, is that one of the direct scenarios on responsible use of AI for organizations should be, if we cared about SEO, then we need to care about AEO. Like no matter
Okay.
where you feel about AI, if SEO mattered, then AEO is going to matter, right? Just in terms of being a voice, and especially for things like advocacy organizations or fundraising, these things are actually really important. They're driven by these engines and optimization on them, right? So I feel like that's a stewardship issue that is getting left out of the conversation.
That's a good point. And I think because what SEO does is, I mean, they're not the same thing, but to understand one is to start to understand the other. And I can see exactly how, okay, so since you can't be there geographically, here's an additional fix, not just having localized organizations sort of be able to perpetuate your message, but the landing pages, which they do deploy immediately, they advertise immediately upon deployment, projectcamp.co/SpokaneFires-2026. Well, let me show you. Here's the awesome part. Oh, you can't see it, but their actual, the one they popped up, projectcamp.co/SpokaneFires. They're just missing the 2026. And so it tells you that those are some of those little things that keep it going. I love the idea of municipal keywords, regional zip codes. That tells me we need to look at the back end of our SEO on Squarespace, which is where theirs is built, and figure out what do we need to implement that is quick to trigger, just like a deployment, because they're worried about getting on the ground and helping the kids, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
How do we make it as easy as possible for them to update the SEO, get a site live, and it's triggering local geotags, keywords, regionals, those sorts of things. So that's just on the geographic piece. Tim, I'm interested in what you're kind of doing over there. We'll take a quick pause from mine. I want to see what you've got going on over here.
So I'd never heard of geographic binding before. So I just said, what is geographic binding? And does it matter to AEO? Well, of course it does. I was saying, like, I don't know what this is, but it matters to AEO, even though I've never heard of it, which I think is very funny. And so it's identifying a lot of the things: dated location, tagged content, schema.org event/place, right? So and if you haven't heard of schema.org, it's weird, but schema.org is just it is the taxonomy or the tags that your website needs in the back end so that robots can read it and AI knows what's happening with it. Is that a good way of explaining it?
Muted myself. Schema.org. I'd never heard of it.
Oh, okay. So schema. Okay. Well, this is really interesting.
I'm on it. Don't worry.
Schema.org is basically.
I genuinely thought that was just like a placeholder text when you typed it.
Oh,
or when you
no.
were reading that.
Schema.org, this is really fascinating. So schema.org is what defines the schema for the AEO tags that you can put on your website. And if you adhere to the taxonomy, if you adhere to the schema here, and you're really careful about it, then it's easier for robots to read your work, basically, right? So the AI just knows what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm gonna try a schema.org on their fires. And by the way, they're just finishing up a camp in Spokane. Their work is continuing. They're helping out the organization's helping out local community efforts to keep going after they're gone. So I want to be clear that like we're using an active site, an active nonprofit that does.
I'm hiding my stuff so we can see your stuff better.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to point out that like we're talking about Project Camp, certainly with their permission. I talked to Mikey about it last week, but it's because what they're doing, like they're worried about getting on the ground and helping out the minute they get enough notification about a fire that they need to get out there. They're not worried about how do I make sure that we are getting seen when someone Googles us or when someone chat GPTs us, but they need to be. And so this is like, it's genuinely something that we're like, well, we could actually help this organization and they're actively deployed right now. So I definitely encourage anyone that's listening to go check them out. I don't want you to think that we're talking about, we have the Impact Me Foundation and a few other things, but this is a legitimate organization doing legitimate work today. Okay, so I ran a test. I couldn't even tell you what that meant. I went to validate and I just typed in their URL. So projectcamp.co/Spokane fires, which according to both of our outputs, the only suggested update there would have been to add a 2026 or like a date feature. Ooh, sorry. My allergies are acting up.
That's you.
Thank you.
So can we just pause for just 1 second? What are people looking at right now? So this is this the back end of their website right now? Like, is this the live website?
What I'm trying to get so you can screen better. This is still schema.org. I'm trying to figure out how to make my screen show the whole thing. Screen share perspective. I apologize. There we go.
Oh, right. And you did test your structured data, right? Is that what prompted this?
I hit this validate button, which I can't figure out how to show you.
Okay.
Right here.
Okay.
I hit validate. And then this pops up. And then, it says test your structured data. I put in the URL and I hit run test.
Got it.
Let's see what this little info button tells me. Oh, here we
So
go.
anyone can do this. Anyone can go and run their organization's website through schema.org to test it.
That's what it seems like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a placeholder documentation page for the validator.
Oh, great. Nice.
Okay, let's
I
assume
like
that one's
how
a
we
little
were on a
newer.
good roll there for a minute.
Yikes. I mean, it says 0 errors, 0 warnings, the URL, the name, the image. This is how you know that having more uh descriptors in your image saving makes a big difference.
Yep,
I wonder
exactly.
what this button does. I'm not quite sure. I mean, if I'm Project Camp and I'm typing this in, this doesn't tell me what needs to be addressed, I guess is an important thing to say.
But it starts to lay out the context because one of the things to understand is the way that humans read a website and the way that AI reads a website are really different. We look at it
Yeah, no
visually, we
kidding.
understand what's happening in context. And so it's easy to think that that's what AI does as well. What AI doesn't care about how things look. AI is always just interested in this kind of a text readout. This
Yeah.
is put in a form that helps it understand and create context for everything around there, right? So I think that the main takeaway here on
Are
this
you
is
ready?
that AI reads websites like this. Maybe that's the main point.
Oh, so it's pulling the objects.
Yeah, you can
Crazy.
you can define. That's why. So I don't know if you remember when you and I had a lot of conversations about how I was structuring my blog and work with you on our website, and a lot of it was how do you organize that? It is all related to the way that your URLs are read, and then inside of your meta tags, which is what we're seeing from
Mm-hmm.
schema.org, how you define who authors are, who participants are, if it's a video, if it's an artifact, all of that stuff gets defined. And the better you do that, combined with the more often you do that, the more you start to show up in AEO rankings. Or,
Ugh, we're gonna need to make
and
like our own little cheat sheet here. My gosh.
yeah, yeah.
This is, I mean,
So
for
I
folks
actually just
listening in,
did
this is
that.
just as overwhelming for like
So I
me.
did
I mean, I know
just create
Tim's in it a little. Go ahead.
I did just create an artifact for
Oh,
schema.org in
sweet.
plain English. So I'm going to share that because
Please
I
do.
stole from your playbook here where we just like create something. I'm really upset that this did not show up in my Obscurator design system, which is where I wanted it, but
Oh, yeah.
whatever. Right. All right, we'll do it live here. All right, what it actually is shared vocabulary. Right here, your page is copy written for humans. Schema is the same, but for machines. So, like, nice to be validated. JSON LD. I mean, we should do a whole episode on JSON Markdown at some point because it's so
Ugh.
powerful what's in here. I know, it's very nerdy, but um, so here we go. The types that matter for geographic binding: local business, place, event, special announcement, organization, um, and then these are the key properties that you can put in there. So um, JSON basically creates an instant database on any kind of data schema. That's what makes it so powerful. So, um,
Interesting.
and then AEO cares more than classic SEO did. Uh, Classic SEO ranks a page based on a list of blue links. AEO synthesizes direct answers with no click through. So this right here. It needs to trust the facts before generating. So to AI, well-structured data is a trust validation, right? So I think
Oh,
that's really important to understand is that one of the ways it decides if it just like for us, we decide if we trust a website based on how it looks, right? If it looks like it was written from Windows 95, right? Our trust is different than if
yep.
it's Web3 enabled and looks real, right? These are trust signals to us. So I think that's important. Um, and then minimal viable checklist. So um, And then I haven't seen this before. Google's rich results test. Is that the thing that you're running right now, or is that something else?
No, that's schema.org. I'm pulling up Google's rich
Okay,
results
so
test.
yeah. Anyway, this is the whole world. I think it's really interesting. The takeaway here is actually pretty straightforward. You can have AI read your site and tell you what's missing on it, and then you can tell it, give me step-by-step instructions to go fix my website, and
Mm.
it will, so that it's AEO enabled. It'll ask you, is that hosted on web, on WordPress or whatever, and then you just do what it says and put the things that it gives you where you're supposed to put them. So that is my very fast takeaway on how to enable AEO for a website,
Huh.
which is completely inadequate. Like if you like, that's a good starter, but you probably shouldn't stop there. Is maybe the next
No.
thing to say. Right. So
Well, and like some of the easiest ways to figure out what your organization would even be putting out into the world. Sorry, I can pull my video back too, I suppose. If I can figure it out, is so I just Googled what is Project Camp, right? And right now Google's got also the AI overviews. So that points to like what you were saying, where AEO is taking a actual snippet, interpreting it, and putting back out what it thinks it's like reading, viewing, seeing. And so if I typed in what is Project Camp with the right colon in the right place, it does jump right to it's a nonprofit organization that sets up free trauma-informed pop-up day camps for children affected by natural disasters. It's really great, like very clear. A couple things that I'm learning though, right? So talk about learning live. Let me show you what this screen shows and why I think these are learnings and how you can use this in your learnings across many things that you do, right? So oh, it didn't. There we go. Okay, so let me zoom in here. What I think is super interesting is great. It pulls from Project Camp's website, but then it's pulling from Idealist. It's going to pull from, it's not on here right now, but Charity Navigator, Civic Plus.
yep.
And the next one it's showing you is LinkedIn. Oh, there's Charity Navigator. So like even if, and I do have a fun announcement, right? We talked about how like they needed the .org because that was like they weren't even on the map. Well, sometimes you just can't fix that, right? Like sometimes that's been taken for the 5 years they've had this organization. They've got alerts on to see if they can get it, but they can't change that. They are projectcamp.co until they can figure out how to purchase the .org. What you can do is go to those places like Idealist, like Charity Navigator, check out LinkedIn and what you have there. These are the higher hitting resources that your AEO are looking to get you there. So post on LinkedIn that we're deploying to Spokane, Washington, and make it very clear in your posts, not necessarily because you want to be very robotic in your post, but it's because you know that the crawlers are out there looking at a LinkedIn post that shows Spokane, Washington for the Spokane wildfires. Make that known. You know what I mean?
Yep. Right. This is why
Um,
repurposing on multiple platforms actually makes sense, because you can set it up to do that quickly, automatically,
absolutely.
right? So that
Well,
should
like
not.
Project Camp's a good example. They're not big LinkedIn users,
Sure.
right? Like
Right.
their goal isn't necessarily on LinkedIn, but this tells me as a person working with them, I should at least suggest to them that they should, every time they deploy, make a couple
Yeah.
posts specifically
Yep.
with dates, locations, and reminders of emergency response and childcare and day camps and things like that that help bring it all back around.
One of the big
Oh,
differences between this format and ranking on SEO, and I like this difference, is that they are looking for authentic expertise and authority, not who gets the most hits on a website. And I
yeah.
think that that's a really important thing to say, because with SEO, if you didn't get in early, good luck.
Yep.
Like, there is just no hope for you, basically. Right now, you really can establish your authority in your domain just by just by tagging everything that you do so that it's readable. And I think that I think that is missing in people's strategy right now. Um,
Well, because it can be
and
overwhelming, right?
it
Like
is overwhelming. Oh
there's
gosh, yes.
so many
Completely
tags to
agree.
add, and then you have the accessibility piece of it all that does
Right.
like genuinely impact your
Yeah.
hits, because if you're not an accessible page, all of a sudden you've got
Yep.
AEO not pushing you, you've got accessibility issues, of course.
Yep.
Like there's all of those pieces. And so I think it like I even just think about like all of the photos I put up on a website, like the exhaustion of the alt text alone is a lot. And that's a very privileged thing for me to say. Let me be very clear. But then you think about the meta tags and the header tags and the like, it is exhausting. And so that's kind of why I wanted to show people today, like, we are in and learning a little lot. Like, yes, there are things that Tim and I know to do that we could have just started with a punch list and gone through with that. But I wanted to show how you could use that curiosity factor to really get in and learn and dig into some of this stuff, because that's how we learned it. I mean, genuinely. So like right
Yep.
now I'm asking based on the here's the things that it can do to, fix or address this and show up in this search. I'm now asking like, all right, what's the 30, 60, 90 days of to get, the best hits, no matter the, sorry, I'm so tired today.
It's totally fine. One thing I want to point out, I feel about AEO and accessibility the way I feel about prompting, which is that humans are not designed to do that well. So we should not be like, when it comes to what to hand off that, right? So I agree it's overwhelming, which is why we shouldn't do it. It's the same reason that prompting well is overwhelming. So that's why we created the promptinator, because we're lazy and we're not going to get unlazy. What we should do is just be productive in our laziness. So AEO tags, like, we're never going to do that well. We shouldn't be doing it well. That is a skill with a schedule, right?
100%. Sorry, I just was reading this and I was like, oh, they could do this. I was like, oh, they're going
Right.
to be, I can't decide
Yep.
if they're going to be excited to see it or not. But
Right.
this website is built in Squarespace, which I happen to know it is. Does anything change? They have a template, but anchor links and others need to change each time. Want this as smooth and go ready as possible. So one of my concerns, and I didn't even finish reading the whole thing, was that like, so they do have this. So it says build a 5-minute page template. They've got one that they update once it's time to
Yep.
deploy. And they've spent a good amount of time building something like that. But the problem is, how do we then encourage, like there's limitations, right? So on their page, for example, here, let me just talk you through a little bit. On their page, for example, here, we need to make sure that there's a way for this to update each time to say the location. What I'm learning here is we probably need to say Spokane, Washington. Like it just needs to be said in the language. That's an easy enough fix. If I hit donate here, it actually just anchors down to here, right? So this is a fundraise up page that they've got. We've got, some different pieces here, right? This block can exist here, but to anchor it, so when you hit donate at the top of this page, that anchor exists in the URL, right? So right now I'm at projectcamp.co/Spokane and then it goes #donate, which is the anchored from the page. So even like little things like that, you have to re-anchor everything. You have to re-tag everything. Like I want to know,
Well, I
is
want to
there
just say
truly a better way to do this? Because this is complex.
it needs to happen. You don't need to do it. In fact, you shouldn't. Like, back to my last point. So I just gave Claude a prompt that said, look at Project Camp and create the right schema.org stuff. Right. Like, okay. And
Oh,
I want to just see what it's going to come up with. Right. So it's looking at that. And um, you're exactly right, though. Anchors are really important, but I don't think everybody needs to know that, as long as AI knows that and you're asking it right? Question.
Huh.
So, right, like tell me what to make for schema.org and then tell me how to put it on my website is going to get you further than trying to learn what matters about schema.org. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm so intrigued. Even just little things like I know, and it part of it is because I've been part of these conversations. I've watched them improve so much. Um, Sort of the approach that they've got here, and even like the deploy your new specific. So they have an active response, like active camps page that they keep up when there are active camps. But what this is telling me is actually make a redirect. So keep active camps up and it'll just say there are no active camps, but visit the pages from our previous camps probably. And then the minute Spokane Fires 2026 pops up, just set a redirect for that site until it's no longer active. Just very interesting. I can't wait to show this to them. I can't decide if they're going to like
Yeah,
throw things at me or not.
right. Yeah. I don't know if this Project Camp does it exist in other places or is it just Spokane?
Oh, it exists. I mean, they've been to Iowa, they've been to
Okay, yeah. All right.
Hawaii, they
Because
were
they've
in
got like past
LA.
deployments here. And I
Yep.
think that like that's interesting. So it's saying like you've got to look at past deployments. This would build a history for AI to know, okay, they've done this before. This goes to the expertise and authority rather than the ranking, right? Um,
Hmm.
so I feel like these are you know, I don't know. I like the kind of suggestions that it's giving
Can
it.
you ask it
And
something for
then,
me?
yeah, totally.
Can you ask it, does anything change knowing the site is built on Squarespace? Because I know there's some how much you can manipulate in there isn't the same. And is there any way to loop this into a Monday.com? Because they use Monday for their project management and deployment management. Is there any way to loop this into a Monday.com deployment automation, etc.? Something like that. I always add etc. at the end of like half of my
I
random.
just do like I do the Gen X version of that, which is a dot dot dot, which then AI
Oh,
turns into an
yes.
M dash, by the way, which is why there's so
Oh,
many M dashes.
I love M dash. I really hate that
Yeah,
everyone's like, I hate M or like that they can't do M
yeah,
dashes
right.
anymore. I'm like, you're wrong. I love M dashes.
Yeah, yeah,
While this is
totally.
loading, I should let everybody know because we're nearing the end of our episode here today. One, I did put up in the corner a QR code of let's hear from you. If you got ideas, and I'm going to keep this for a little bit. It's just a
That's
simple
a
Google
great
form that I
idea.
built to basically be like, what do you guys think we should cover? You know, if there's things, go ahead. If there's not, don't worry about it. But the other piece is um Project Camp actually, so I texted them last week. Let me see if I can find it because I literally said, you know, something along the lines of we need to get the .org. Like I'm trying to find it. That's what I learned today. I was like, I'll tell you more, but essentially I learned in AI for Anyone Live today that like we need to be owning that .org. And Mikey, the ED, responds and he's like, funny enough, we just got it. So they do
Oh,
actually
awesome.
now have the .org and they will be migrating over. It was something along the lines of they'd been waiting for it for a while. Yeah, I said I just did my weekly AI for Anyone live stream, use Project Camp as an example, and it was kind of wild. Number one learning, our .co instead of a .org is going to be a problem for donations and outreach if we rely on a search like that. And then he goes with this cute little, I don't know if you guys can see it, this cute little GIF, like the Tom and Jerry Tom
Yep.
bowing. And he says, well, funny enough, we just bought the .org. We're going to bridge it all over after Spokane. And I was like, shut up. This is amazing. I guess someone sat on it for a few years. And so they finally got it coordinated and figured out. But I think, I mean, some of these things are things that they've also known as an org. And so I think that's another thing to point out is just because you know what to do doesn't mean that it's always the easiest to deploy. Like we've talked about how do we make our active deployments or our past deployments something that SEO hits. And that language is the same for AEO. And they do have some out there, but what this is suggesting is it's not strong enough in the schema.
Well,
Thing.
okay, so one thing it said it goes in an embed block directly on each page's content. So it's kind of like in the header. So it's invisible to humans, but it goes on them. And now I'm asking if there is an MCP so that you can just run that as the automation, which it looks like there is. Um,
So I'm
Nothing
wondering,
that was just page content. Never mind. Sorry.
I'm going to make you send me all this, because then I'm like, I'm looking at some of our past camps, and they've got some overviews of them.
Right.
And
Right.
they've got a map that has sort of where they've been, like a little heat map looking thing, which is great. But is this saying, we need to leave those live just behind, like not linkable,
Yes.
or, you know what I mean? Like not.
Well,
And those are things
yeah.
we've toyed with for sure.
Right. So, one thing that I discovered when I was looking into this for my blog and how this works is that you can create templates of this that can pull from subpages or other pages in some cases. So I'm doing this where I've got a really thin wrapper on each blog page, but it's pulling everything else from the template itself. So there's actually some ways to speed this up so that it designs all of those things as it's supposed to. Bottom line here is it looks like there is a developer portal that you can dig into and look at this. Some people have automated it. If you can't automate it, then you can use Playwright, right? Which is basically it goes in and grabs your screen and it can move it around. So if you want to do an automation that way, you can, right? So
well, and I mean, even on mine, it did show like, here's some easy ways to use bracketed text inside the code. So when you duplicate it, you're just, control. So like, even without API or developer stuff, like even just the traditional copying of a page, like a templated page, it was helping me figure out the anchor links breaking and some of that stuff, which I think is helpful. So there are ways to do it even without getting full nerd like Tim and I tend to. And I know what's funny is I know the promise, and it was sort of intentional. Today's promise was the like fixing a nonprofit AI can't find. Certainly, we gave them a great punch list. There is no scenario where any one thing is fixed about any one organization, right? Like Project Camp has so much room to do more. And they're an organization that's always willing to hear what the world's suggesting. And so that's why I knew they were such a great organization for us to demo with. And we were actively trying to be like, how do people know they can support this effort? Because it costs anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 to deploy a camp. And they deployed 4 in Spokane. Like they do have a need for fundraising right now.
Right. Yep.
And so how do they do that when they're not even showing up on the board? It's a very fair thing and something that we're constantly looking into as an organization. And so I was like, well, you know what? Let's just make that live today. And the next step isn't, okay, we input these things and it's solved. It's we input these things and we go back to the drawing board. We reevaluate, we figure out, okay, now when we deploy this this place and it works, what other things are popping up that we might have missed? Or it was really hard. Is the ROI there? I'm so yawny today. Sorry.
The thing that I would recommend on that is that, yes, the tags are important, but the content inside of them also matters.
Yes.
And the person that I think has done some of the best work on this is, of course, Nate Jones. He did a play out last, what was it, October or September, that broke down why this is going to matter and how to jump in now and do some of these things. What he was saying that I think is really important is, in order to establish authority and expertise, you need to be making claims that are backed up with your tags. So in the case of Project Camp, this is an authority play right here, an expertise play. We have done this before. We've deployed our resources in the past in natural disasters, and you can see it because here's the receipts. So it's important to think of it not just as a search and it goes and finds it. It's really important to think about it as a way for your website to build authority through the real work that you're doing, because it is out there trying to make sure that this is real and validate that. So I think that's also important to be considering in all of this, which I think goes back to, there's a playbook here that we should probably put together at the end of this episode, because there's so much content.
I know. I'm like, we should just get this all together and figure out how to put it up on
Of course
artifacts.
you'll have an artifact in like 2 minutes about this.
Well, we'll see. I do think though it is just, it's super helpful for us to see, like for us to play together in live like we do, because hearing what your infrastructure was coming up with, I was like, oh, pause. Let me stop sharing. Tim, can you ask this? Can you, like, Can we start having this conversation, you know, with your AI together? That being said, AI doesn't have to be the answer to all, right? Like, we know great people that work in AEO and SEO work that, you know, hiring somebody else to figure some of this out for you, especially those of you that rightfully are like, I don't want to just ask AI to solve everything for me. I think AI is a great starting point. But if you are like, I want a human to human tell me what's going on and how to fix it and actually work with me to fix it, I could list at least 3 just in my area that I would suggest you go to. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important that we note that there are humans within this mix, left, right, center.
And I will also just put a plug in that even if you fix this one time on your website, the real question there is cadence. What keeps
Is it
you and
repeatable?
your team coming back to create that long-term change? And you know, that is a founding principle of the human stack is these are things that need to be changed on the human side, not just through behavior, but through beliefs and sense of identity. I'm the kind of
Yeah.
person who goes in and makes these changes to our website because this matters to our mission. Like, that's a different way of approaching this than, you know, hey, this is one more thing on a task list, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it never hits the priority list. So, um, anyway, that cadence is really important. Back to practicing, right? The more you practice, the better you become at this and approach this with a playful spirit, like figuring it out.
Absolutely. So I would leave folks with this, you know, tonight, go and search for your own organization the way a stranger might ask, you know, ask AI how to give to you, write down what it gets wrong, go look at your ProPublica Charity Navigator pages, take advantage of some of that low hanging fruit. We got really in the weeds because we had an org in front of us that we could impact directly today. But the machine's reading those ProPublica and Charity Navigators before it ever reads your website, even most times. So make sure they're all agreeing with each other. And if you only take that one deliverable, like, that's most of the job. Make sure to, you know, keep following along with us. Subscribe on our YouTube channel if you want to check out more of these. Episode 60. Obviously, we've got lots more to come. But until next time, everybody, stay curious.
Stay human. Bye,
Bye,
Sami.
guys.